It's almost 50 years since Sir Robin Knox-Johnston completed his pioneering non-stop solo circumnavigation of the world.
Day 312, about 25 past 3 on April the 22nd, and Robin Knox-Johnston and Sue Haley have sailed non-stop around the world.
Nearly 3 decades later, the Clipper race was born. Sir Robin's concept was clear: sailing the world's toughest oceans in a circumnavigation around the planet. But not for an elite few. These would be everyday people with a thirst for adventure.
You know, life is for that, to take risks, to follow your dreams.
Now in the 11th edition of the biennial race, 700 participants from all walks of life, representing over 40 nationalities, will take on the challenge of dealing with whatever Mother Nature has in store. Battling the elements out on the world's greatest oceans, they will experience some of the toughest conditions imaginable. From hurricane-force winds to squalls that can knock a boat flat. From stifling heat to sub-zero conditions, and the danger of possible injury.
If you could imagine taking a cheese wire and almost cutting down that line.
They must learn to live with strangers, sailing 24 hours a day for weeks on end, all within the confines of a 70-foot yacht in the middle of the ocean. 40,000 miles, 13 races, 12 identical yachts, 6 continents, 1 unique challenge. This is the race of their lives.
Well, welcome to Liverpool. It's the home of the Beatles, the maritime gateway to the New World, and steeped in boating and shipping history over the centuries. And well, today, of course, it's the culmination of 11 months of racing for over 700 crew in the Clipper Round the World race. And we've got a lot in store for you for the next hour or so, as the boats are on the last few miles of something like 40,000 nautical miles all the way around the world for the past 11 months. 11 months ago, they left here in style, and the weather really has laid on some nice wind for them to finish with. Unfortunately, it tends to mark the end of British summer. It seems we've had a very hot summer here for the past 6 or 7 weeks, but it ended this morning. A nice welcome for the sailors, though, because it is really nice and windy and breezy, but the sun is out. So I'm welcoming now alongside me Peter Thornton, who is a past skipper of a boat called Great Britain. She's actually taking part, but you're watching from ashore, Peter.
Yes, that's right, in a nice comfortable commentary box. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. So here we are, looking at the Mersey, the famous Mersey, and of course the Liver building as well, which we'll see a bit later. One of the questions I've got is the exigencies of English. It's Liverpool, but the Liver birds. I don't know how that comes about. But anyway, we're looking forward to this. Is live pictures of the last few miles, as we say, just looking down the mouth of the River Mersey, the famous River Mersey, where the Beatles and all those ships that left to go to America and beyond in those last centuries, and a great place to come and finish the race, really.
I think so. It's Liverpool as a maritime city is iconic across the world, yes, I think this is the 3rd time that the city has hosted the Clipper race. I think first time 2002, I believe, then 2008. Or should I say 2007 it started, and then finished in 2008. So this is 10 years since that last race finished here. And so it's wonderful.
A great boating heritage here as well in Liverpool. The Wirral, just over the way on the right of your screen there. Great powerboat racing and sailing events, and really very well known. Not necessarily very well known compared to the south coast of England, where most people think all the sailing happens in the UK. But Liverpool has a great tradition.
Yeah, certainly, and it's the access to the Atlantic and Irish Sea and everything else that goes with that, with regards to the weather systems that blast across. It's certainly serious sailing and serious maritime coastal navigation up here.
What are the problems for the guys coming in the River Mersey for the last time, these last few miles?
Well, most of them will certainly have been feeling this weather front come over last night, and the start this morning was definitely gusty. And you can see the footage there that they're heeling over quite a degree. Yes, it's some great sailing weather for them to finish here, and of course not to mention the tidal detail that goes around this coast and all of that has to be taken into account.
Yes, the tide is coming in, so it is with them, which is why it's looking a bit rough, because there's what we call wind over tide, so the wind is blowing against the tide, makes it rougher than it actually really is. Here you can see then Garmin with one reef in and a pretty small jib up as well. That's the sail at the front.
Yeah, certainly. It looks as though it's either the Yankee 3 or Yankee 2, so the clipper yachts have got three main headsails out on the front there. So the Yankee 1 is the largest, Yankee 2 mid, really the workhorse sail, and then the Yankee 3 is the smallest, and then the second sail further back that you can see is the staysail, which is up most of the time, and then of course the mainsail is the largest one attached to the mast.
Garmin seems to have quite a lead over the chasing pack at the moment.
She does, which is good for Garmin, because PSP and Garmin have got a little battle going on for this final sprint of the Clipper Race 2018. Because if PSP manages to get a win without Garmin scoring any points, so just to give you a quick overview of this race, the top three of this little sprint into Liverpool will be the only yachts that receive any points. So the first across the line will receive 3 points, second 2 points, and third 1 point. All of the remaining yachts will not receive any points. So it's a battle for those podium finishes in this last sprint.
Live pictures there from on board, so that's the looks like on board, and it's quite breezy, as you say, quite rough. So you know, it to be oilskins on, and it's certainly throwing up at them for the last few miles of this race. Just explain though, there is a point scoring system, and there's races within races almost, isn't there?
Yeah, there are, and this is the final sprint race of the final leg, which left Londonderry last Sunday, and so this one now, obviously yesterday evening, for those that have been really involved with the race, they would have seen that coastal leg finished yesterday afternoon with Sanya Serenity Coast taking the overall win, because that is taken over the entire race with the cumulative points. She's currently on 137 points, so nobody can catch her now, which is wonderful. But the actual leg was won by Qingdao, and that was a very close race, of course, with Liverpool coming back into her home port. So it's wonderful to see her get a second place in that leg, closely followed by Garmin, who is doing so well right now.
Well, they're doing very well at the moment, yes. So leagues ahead here at the entrance of the Mersey, and well, good for them, good morale. So really, they haven't actually been this close after some 800 miles, which was the leg from Londonderry in Ireland to here. What they've done, they've had a virtual finish. There's a virtual finish line out there off of the coast. Yes,
that's right. So that would have been finished using the global positioning system, the GPS, and the finish line would have been set by the race director. And all the yachts crossed that yesterday afternoon, so they finished that leg. And this is a new race that was started this morning, and their kickoff this morning was at 7:45, and that was with a
Le Mans start.
A Le Mans start, thank you very much, yes. So that kicked off with all of the yachts in line, and it's a race to hoist those headsails and get away the quickest that they can, get underway and sailing.
So literally they line up, and in one line abreast, as it were, and then someone drops the flag, right, we're off.
Yes, exactly, and the lead skipper sits in the centre, because they're outside and still offshore. So it's definitely a coastal sailing start, and the lead skipper will count them down. And then obviously at 4 minutes the engines goes off, and all of the crew are behind a certain point on the yacht. And then when the gun goes, when that signal goes and it's a time start, the crew can then move forward, hoist the two sails that you can see at the front there, and then the fastest to get those sails hoisted and then under control will be the one that gets away quickest.
And there's just 3 sets of points, first, second and third, that will get 3, 2, 1 points, and that's added to their overall total. And that doesn't really affect the first 3 positions, so the podium has been decided. We'll see that later on, of course. But it's still quite important for those chasing that podium place, the 4th and 5th. There's still possibly a little change to happen, yeah?
Yeah, very much so. So 4th and 5th is in contention, as well as 6th and 7th. So currently, as it stands, so Garmin, the leading yacht at the moment in this particular race, she's lying 4th overall, but only 3 points behind her is PSP Logistics, which is in that little pack just behind. Now, if PSP Logistics can win and Garmin unfortunately fall down the rankings into 4th in this race, that will mean that PSP Logistics will take the 4th place. And also there's 6th and 7th is in contention. UNICEF and Dare to Lead, with UNICEF currently in 6th position with 108 points and only 2 points behind her, Dare to Lead. So they will all be battling for this final little group of points that is available.
Great view from the helicopter then of the final leg, the final few miles here in the Clipper round the world race. Little tidal help, or just they wanted to make sure that they got the honours of crossing the line first?
Well, quite possibly, and you'll see on the footage that certainly a lot of the yachts now have got a reef in. So Garmin may well have put that reef in early doors. Excuse me.
Yes, they may well have done. Looking from on board, what a lovely shot. In fact, we see that pink hull. It is Liverpool, so that's a real homecoming for them.
It is, yes. So they'll be looking forward to a hero's welcome back here in Liverpool, and what a place to come back to.
Well, fine sight of the boats sailing on the wind, as we call it. In other words, they are tacking towards where the wind is coming from, and this is a nice point of sailing. They've all got pretty much similar reefs in, at least one reef in that main sail, and not too much, not too hard, but, you know, they're all very practiced now. Just a few miles left then, coming into the Mersey Harbour itself. That is the last piece of ocean that they'll get. I suppose you could still call it just about an ocean. It's the Irish Sea, really, I suppose, the leftovers of the Irish Sea. But that's the last big seas they're going to see as they come in to the Mersey and towards the finish line here at Albert Dock. Just a few miles to go. They're aiming to finish and cross the line around 9:30. We look forward to that. We can see them from our commentary position here as they're sailing along. Nice 40 degree angle of heel. Perfect day, really, and conditions, considering that we've had for the past 6 weeks, Peter, flat calms.
Yeah, certainly. And even the finishing boats last night in the actual coastal leg, they were struggling to finish because the wind died off in the evening. But this morning, lovely. That front came across. Certainly good maritime weather this morning with the rain squalls coming across. Very gusty conditions, and they are certainly trucking up the Mersey at the moment. So certainly looking at potentially first yachts in the not too distant future, crossing the line in hopefully 20 minutes, and then the rest leading up to 10 o'clock. So excellent timing there, really, by the race director to set them up.
PSP, we see here, PSP, look, they've done pretty well all the way around, and nice tight shot. Look, there's the bowman just at the front of the boat, the bow of the boat as it's called, and looking in fine trim, actually. Of course, all these guys are coming back really experienced ocean sailors now, and they left here 11 months ago, some with very little experience.
Yes, and they'll have all learned an incredible amount, even those that have sailed before, and to those that had never sailed and just done the clipper training prior to jumping on board their yacht.
Well, there is the liver bird here at Liverpool. There are 2 liver birds on this building, famous building here in Liverpool, and those birds have seen so many people cross the oceans to America and beyond. And 11 months ago they saw the crew, not all 700 of the crew taking part, but the core crew sailing off about 11 months ago, 20th of August. Seems just like yesterday, and they had a pretty good send-off. Well, this is a great welcome back, isn't it?
Yeah, wonderful. I was told only yesterday, I believe that was one of the first modern skyscrapers of its time. So all of the old pictures that you see with the construction workers sitting on top of the large steel girders high up in the air, many of them are from that building there.
Well, there's a ship coming in as well. Of course, this is a working port, a very busy port it is too. It's a cruise ship coming in, and there's a tanker just leaving Mersey. They have to pass on the right, they drive on the right, unlike the cars in England where you drive on the left, but all the boats still stick to the international maritime law, which is stay on the right.
Exactly, yes, as closely to the starboard side as is safe and practical, I believe.
Well, Garmin looks like this is in the bag for them. They have such a lead here. It's extraordinary, and well done to Garmin.
It's great, and this tide will certainly be helping them up. It does certainly look as though that wind has veered enough for them to just pretty much stay on this starboard tack and crack straight up the Mersey. Incoming tide, and they've probably got about 3 knots there at their position. Greatest rate of tide here this morning will be just to the south of where we're sitting, actually, off of Albert Dock, and it gets up to 4.2 knots, which is an incredible rate of tide here in Liverpool, which is one of the reasons, of course, that the skill in shipping and docking into the locks here is renowned around the world.
Yes, 4 knots is quite a lot of speed, so it's going with them. In other words, it's underneath their keel and it's helping them down the channel here. That boat was just what we call luffing, coming up into the breeze a bit. Not too sure what was going on there, maybe a little adjustment, and a big angle of heel.
Yeah, so the forecast is, well, the current weather is probably gusting a little bit more than forecast. We were hoping, or initially looking at 15 knots potentially, and it looks more like 20 out there at the moment. So yeah, they're carrying a lot of sail right now, so the helms will be having to have their wits about them and keeping concentration, because a slight little lapse in that concentration and the boat will round up. So if you're not well balanced, you'll have trouble. So maybe that's what Garmin managed to nail right at the beginning. It certainly, as I started mentioning before, I had a slight problem with the mic. She put a reef in quite early, which means that she's more controlled and therefore able to sail in a straighter line. So more sail is not necessarily faster.
Yes. Well, certainly gusty there. You saw the boat mainsail flapping away there. This boat here, can't tell who that is at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. It looks
nicely, you know, the mainsail's in nice and tight, hardly any luffing going on, so a good pace for this boat in clear air, but getting gustier and gustier as they make their way now into the Mersey.
Yeah, it is, and they'll have to also deal with the slight gust changes over the land. So this local topography will make a big difference to when those gusts hit them and how they control the boat.
They've also a few mobile wind blocks as well. That cruise liner, I'm not too sure where it's docking.
It is going to be interesting, because I think she'll be docking not too far up, but they may be able to get ahead of her before she does her turn. But it's certainly something that they will need to take into account. The workings of the port continue. Just because there's a race on, that doesn't matter. It's all up to the skippers to make those decisions, to make sure that they're abiding by the international rules of the sea.
Very much so. Well, they're all towards the Wirral side. That's the western side of the Mersey here, which is the windward side, and that means that there'll be a clear air. The wind shadow from the cruise ship will be the other side, on the eastern side. Well, there's a nice shot of someone actually grinding, probably the last bit of grinding they're going to do for quite some time, I suspect.
Yeah, exactly. I think there'll be a few tired arms on there. And interesting, we see there PSP. I did notice earlier their headsail. You can see a couple of guys working up on the foredeck there, a couple of bowmen. Their large headsail, the very forward sail, is down on deck, and they're just sailing with a staysail and main, but still going quite well.
With a full main.
Yes, with a full main. So it looks as though they opted just to drop that headsail rather than go for the reef for a reason or so that will be known to them.
Now, the reason for part of that is that PSP Logistics are fairly close to Garmin, aren't they? 3 points behind. So really, if Garmin wins this, they are well clear in fourth.
They are, yes, and that'll be a wonderful result. Here we go. So it looks as though the cruise ship is just starting to turn. So Garmin, I wonder if she is going to be able to get ahead of her. If she has to tack, it will change. It will change things, and it will make it a little bit more interesting.
That's going to be interesting for the racing here, because of course that cruise liner has right of way here. So, well, let's see what happens. But there's lots of crowds now just building up for this finish of 11 months of racing, 40,000 nautical miles. It's a long way around the world, isn't it?
It is a long way around the world, and yes, it takes a long time as well, 11 months. And of course the race distance is just shy of 41,000 miles. But of course all of these yachts will have sailed further than that distance. That's the straight line distance, if you like, of the course. And so these will be looking at probably 46, 47,000 miles under their belts now, having gone around the world.
Well, Garmin is pinching up, as they call it. In other words, just pointing as high as they can into the wind to try and get around this cruise liner. And I'm sure that the harbour master is now not terribly happy.
Exactly. I'm curious as to see what that rib behind her is. It seems to be catching her up. And one of the things we've got to be aware of, they are hard on the wind. So if with regards to as we saw earlier, the winds, the yachts up to windward, they will be wanting to stay up there, because if they are low, they won't be able to make the finish line without tacking. So this, with Garmin, it looks as though she is trying to squeeze past.
Yes, there they are. They're putting on as much speed as they can possibly get, and of course the cruise liner is slowing down. Garmin really want this win to seal their fourth place.
Yeah, exactly.
And
she's certainly. Yeah, certainly sailing well. Her sails look nicely set. She's quite steady on that heel. Well, as I say that, just looks as though it's a slight round up there. But yeah, hopefully, I was just about to say, it'd be good to see where that tug is at the moment. And they'll be keeping a close eye on each other.
Yes. Well, it's nice to see that they've allowed that to happen, because this is a race. It's been going on, as you say, for 11 months, and it would be a shame to have to lay a tack in to avoid the cruise ship. Of course, they've got just about past this tug ship now, getting a real close view, aren't they, on the tug, and all the passengers on the cruise ship as well, getting a fine view of the end of the race.
They certainly are, and I would imagine the PA system on the cruise ship will be active, and I wouldn't be surprised if it hasn't got a sort of starboard list with all of the passengers over on the starboard side, having a look at the yachts coming in, because this is an incredible feat that all of these sailors have achieved, and finishing here in Liverpool after going around the world and seeing the degree of weather that Mother Nature can throw at all of them.
Well, they certainly have to sit and concentrate still, because the breeze is still up, and it looks like the boat that's lying in second place is now slowed down somewhat because of this cruise liner. It's given Garmin really a clear run at the line.
Yeah, exactly. So Garmin will certainly be happy to have just sneaked ahead, certainly. But let's see if she can actually make the finish line, because if she can't sail any higher, it might still be a case that she will have to tack. But having said that, looking at that shot with her course, it's not looking too bad for her, certainly.
Lots of crowds here, of course, coming out to welcome the sailors home. Many families, and of course many of the crew that don't do the whole leg. You can actually join the boats for some of the race, called leggers.
Yeah, called leggers.
For one leg of the race, or two legs, which is just as much as being part of it. And this is a really emotional part of the race, isn't it, Peter? The homecoming, the arrival, meeting families. Sometimes, some of them haven't seen them for 11 months. Others have joined them on the way round in the ports and the stopovers. But it is an emotional time. for two reasons really. One is the elation of winning or finishing, actually, because everyone's a winner, having completed all this way around the world in the toughest part of the oceans. But also a little touch of sadness of parting of such a core team of friends that you've forged. And there's nothing like it, is there, on board a boat in the middle of the ocean to form a bond with the team, the skipper as well with the team, you know. That's an amazing thing to experience, isn't it?
It is. There are a few other things in the world that will create that trust between individuals, and everybody has to depend on everybody else. You know, very much like mountaineering in a team or trekking across a desert in a team, and being part of that group of people where everybody has something to add in order to achieve the product that you're looking for. So there will be friendships born from this race that will now certainly last a lifetime. At all of the races, all of the Clipper races, the race crews get together and often have reunions, and it's always good talking about the race. You'll never get tired of talking about your experiences on the race, whether it is a circumnavigator or a legger, because I won't go into it too much now. Everybody really does bring something, and it's so important for those leggers to come on board and contribute to the race for their particular ocean crossing or set of races, as well as those that have really got the organisation of the boat to look after and join together. It is wonderful.
So a great elation, but also a touch of sadness, because they've lived on this boat, on their boat, for 11 months, and you become attached to the boat, don't you? When you step off it for the last time here, there's a bit of sadness, a bit of a tear there in parting company with her, you know, rather than it, but her.
Very much so, very much so. And it's looking at the yachts themselves, and you do depend on the yacht just as much as you do on your crew partner. So you've got to have trust in it. You've got to work it and look after her. So it does. It's an extension of the team.
We love you, Wendo. Well done. Well, that's one of the families, obviously, here at the Clipper Round the World race. Don't know which boat it is, but only a few now miles to go for the finish.
Yes, well, I can tell you that Wendo is the skipper of Sanya Serenity Coast, who is the, or should I say, who is the now the first female to win a round the world yacht race. And so Sanya, there will be lots of celebrations on Sanya when she comes in. An incredible achievement.
So that's the situation. The cruise ship has slightly messed things up here a little bit, and a couple of the boats have had to make tacks to get themselves clear of the cruise ship, leaving Garmin here leading the race, and only a mile or so to go. And they are in sight within our commentary position, having tacked yet again. A bit of flapping sail, a flapping foresail in front of that cruise ship. But that tide whipping them down here now, Peter, very nicely towards this finish line, and the crowd's building as well here to enjoy the spectacle of this end of the race.
It is. I'm not sure if you can hear listening, but there are certainly lots of cries and whoops coming from the crowd just below us, yeah, getting a good sight of the yachts coming up the river now.
Very gusty, the shot from the helicopter here, boat having to bear away because of the shifting winds. So it might just change here. I'm not too sure at the moment whether Garmin in the lead there will actually lay the finish line, as it's called. In other words, they're pinching into the wind to try and get to the line without having to put in yet another costly tack.
Yes, exactly. So they will be pinching, they will be using the tide to their advantage and lee-bowing the tide as such, because that will be creating wind across the deck. So they will be able to point slightly higher than normally. So it's certainly something they will be taking into account, but the making tack for this is certainly on the starboard tack, so that the wind coming over the right hand side of the boat, and they'll be trying to just sail up to wind as much as they can to avoid tacking as much as possible. And
the wind shadow here, look at this, that boat, that big gust just hit the boat we were focusing in on there. They're almost upright now because of the gusts coming off of the whirl.
Very much so. So you can see that shot before, they had quite a few of the yachts have tacked over, and a short little tack to get up to the windward side of the channel again in order to hopefully make the finish line on this next tack.
There we are. The breeze really is still affecting the crews here because the tacking that's going on to get round the cruise ship and to the final finish line is proving to be a little awkward, and we may have a bit of port and starboard going on here. What's going on with the jib on the boat to the left there?
Yes, anyway, we see Sanya, Serenity Coast. So that is Sanya, the overall winner, just crossing ahead, and I can't make out who that is behind her. But you can see how, yeah, the sails are still flapping. So quick, they're heavy boats to tack and work. So the crews will be working those coffee grinders and working those winches to try and get the sails in, get the drive out of the sails before tacking again. It all takes teamwork.
Well, this is a nice shot of Garmin, the leader on this sprint race, the last of the little races within a race, if you like, to get those last extra points. And 3 points for Garmin will keep them well clear. Unfortunately, won't get them onto the podium themselves. Qingdao is firmly there at 135 points. But Garmin is certainly putting their stamp on this last little sprint and heading towards the finish line. At the moment, they are just about making it to the finish line. It's going to be quite tight. That little jetty you could see on the right there is pretty much at the finish line. So will they make it?
Exactly, will they make it?
Well,
looking down the river from where we are at the moment, I have a feeling that they will have to tack. So it's probably not going to be too far off.
And here they go. They're going into that tack, deciding that they can't squeeze their way across the finish line. There goes the tack. Nice shot.
Yeah, good. Let's see how quickly they get that headsail in.
There they are.
There we go.
There's the people at the finish line. Just prime position there for their flags to wave and wish all of these sailors the best of homecomings.
It's good, yeah. Garmin's sailed very well up here in this final little sprint, and obviously sailed very well, leaving Londonderry to get their third and take them clear of PSP. So it's a great final effort by Garmin. It's really good. So they will be elated. Although we were talking about the podium finishes earlier, it's races within races, and all sorts of things can happen with the yachts out at sea. When you get to this stage, it's that sense of achievement, and really every little race makes a difference, and they will still be fighting. Even at this final stage, they will want to perform and they will want to do well.
Yes, just a few meters really now to go for the team on Garmin, and have done well. Garmin have had a varied set of results throughout the race the past 11 months.
They have, and a lot of the yachts we've seen, it's been an incredible race because there have been all sorts of different leaders of the race, and so many of the yachts have had good high positions and finishing on podium positions throughout, as well as having nightmare races, as we call them, for one reason or another, whether it's a breakage of gear or sails, or just being stuck in an unfortunate position with the weather where you don't want to be.
Well, here they are. That's probably the last tack they're going to make in this race, Garmin.
I think so, and yeah, she looks set, and she does look, it's interesting to see, and although there's a little bit of luffing going on there with her headsail, she looks pretty safe now to cross this line, and not too far, I'd say. What's that? 400 yards maybe?
To go. That's the view. There's the finish line. That's the jetty. That's Albert Dock as well in the background. The Liverpool Event Centre. And just that few hundred meters to go, and a great lead for them all the way in, really.
Exactly. It's great. Nice and steady. Good job. Good job.
Yeah, very good job. We can see the tide really flowing into the Mersey now quite strongly and helping all these boats as they come to the finish line. Let's hope we get a shot on board, because it's quite an emotional moment for all of these people on the boat. and relief and excitement.
Yes, now you're talking. It's hard to put into words how much effort these guys and girls have had to put in to get that vessel all the way around the world, from all of the troubles. And it's not just the sails and lines and gear that is on board that you have to look after. It's all the systems that go into that yacht as well. So it's a little bit like taking a mini village around the world on the ocean. So incredible jobs by all of these teams.
Great shot of Garmin then coming across the line at speed.
And you'll see how much she's heeled over, and that's a good angle to be at. You don't want to be so far over to have the rails in the water. Just on that chine, that port chine, it's almost like another hull. That's the angle that they will be sailing at all the way around the world. So if you can imagine climbing up at that, living at that angle, that's what they do.
There's the gun. And that gun indicates that they have crossed the line and finished in first place. Well done to Garmin.
Yes, well done, Garmin. Good show.
The celebrations won't quite happen yet because it's quite breezy. They've got a lot to actually get sorted out with the sails and getting that tack in. And in a way that shows the good teamwork, you know, that the skipper and the whole guys now just still are concentrating the boat. At some point the skipper's going to say, well done lads and lasses, and at that point they'll cheer, yeah?
Yeah, very much so. So they've had a little cheer just going across the line, but now it's again heads back on. They've got to still deal with the conditions that are out there. The engine will be going on so they can get into position out of the way of the other boats in order to drop those sails and get that boat under control, and then start settling down.
Yes, that's quite a full day of action here for all the spectators and the crew as well, because there's a big parade of sail a bit later on, and 11:15 you can still watch that on the Clipper Ventures roundtheworldrace.com website, and a full display from all of the crowds here. But this is the end of the sprint race, so 3 full points goes to Garmin. PSP Logistics then comes up in second. They managed to get round the ship well.
They did, and it's interesting to see the different sail setup. So she's now just again sailing a full main and in the staysail, so opted for a different sail setup, but still trucking along.
Yeah, well, it seemed to pay off, didn't it? A smaller jib at the front, but the full main, so no reefs in the main, and they're going to take second place. PSP Logistics, of course, they were the hottest chasing Garmin. They got the 2 points, but not quite enough to beat Garmin overall, so they stay in that 5th place.
Yes, but again, great to have that little second. You can see the arms going up on from the bowman there. All done. Jobs are good.
Yeah, big waves from the bowman at the crowds ashore here, and you can see the breeze, can't you? It really is quite gusty here.
It's good. I'm very pleased that we've got this wind here, because it just brings a little bit more of that effect home as to what these guys deal with out there. This is a gentle breeze for them. Those boats are designed for big winds. They go searching for big winds and they find big winds, and they sail beautifully in them. So this is the sort of stuff we want.
Certainly is. And yeah, 2 wins for Logistics in the race of 13 races themselves. So a good result for PSP. It looks like just a couple of bad results having taken them down. Really, they could have got a good chance to get on the podium.
Definitely. PSP Logistics, a race of snakes and ladders for them. Some, again, yeah, incredible racing, got some great podiums, and then, yeah, the points mean prizes, so you've got to be consistent in this race.
Well, look at that's
UNICEF.
Going to be taken by Liverpool. Is that Liverpool? I'm pretty sure that is.
Yeah, that's Liverpool looking at 3rd place. Yeah, that's great. So I was looking just in the distance on the right of the screen. UNICEF behind, taking a big knockdown. Not quite knockdown, but certainly a big heel over. But concentrating on Liverpool now, just crossing the line in this final sprint to take the 3rd place and the final point that is available in this Clipper Round the World Yacht Race 2017-2018. And again, wonderful news for Liverpool to get that result, because of course she came in 2nd in the coastal leg from Derry last night. So a great final spurt of racing from Liverpool. Big
gust of wind for them in that 3rd place crossing. Lance Shepherd his hometown just up the road, Blackpool. For Liverpool 2018, 55-year-old skipper there. Lots of breeze for them. So, 4th place, no points in the last sprint.
No, but it is Sanya Serenity Coast that's coming in over the line in 4th place. And again, she's also she's actually down at one reef and in a staysail and still sailing very well. And closely followed by UNICEF.
So this is the overall winner. Although 4th place here, they have enough points to stay well clear. And we're on board now with Sanya Serenity Coast, and of course a female skipper here, and she's really pleased. Wendy Tuck from Australia, and they've done really well. And 2nd place, just talking about female skippers, has been taken by the young 25-year-old as well. So tremendous result for Nikki Henderson in 2nd place on Visit Seattle. But there we are, they've crossed the line and won the Clipper Round the World Yacht Race. And what a pleasant and great feeling that must be, not only for the skipper, Wendy, but all of the crew on there.
Yeah, very much so. It's a wonderful achievement, and especially for Wendy Tuck, as the first woman to win a round the world yacht race. It's a race that will go down in history, and she will go down in history as being the first woman to win a round the world yacht race. It's we've just seen sailing history being made, and what a wonderful woman to do it. She's such an ambassador for sailing. She's very well known, Cruising Yacht Club of Australia and off of Sydney, many Sydney Hobart races, and very successful in those offshore ocean races down there. 2nd Clipper round the world yacht race for her, and she's come back and nailed it. Excellent sailing, certainly throughout the second half of the race. Although Nikki was hot on her heels, she kept to it, and yeah, Wendo has driven a very good race, and the team will be very proud of what they've achieved.
Yes, they will be very pleased, and a great achievement. And I say, for women sailing as well, this might just encourage a few to sign up on the dotted line to join in, you know, because women and men are absolutely equal in this, aren't they?
Very much so. Sailing is a great leveler. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, almost really what physicality you are, because a lot of sailing is about intelligent decisions and reading the weather and reading what you need to do with the boat. And so again, that team sense of everybody has got something to do on the boat, it shines through. Everybody can go sailing, and it doesn't matter who you are. You can get that result if you work hard enough.
Yes. Well, Great Britain's just crossed the line. That's a boat close to your heart.
It is. Yes. So last race we were finishing into London, and of course I was the skipper of Great Britain, and of course for us it was a wonderful homecoming. And Great Britain, yeah, another. Well, she's been battling all the way around, and unfortunately she had lost a crew member, Simon Spears, in the Southern Ocean, so that was a great knock to her. But she's come back fighting, and they will have sailed for Simon Spears. So well done, Great Britain team. Wonderful job.
Now we see some boats actually carrying 2 reefs, and I think this is Qingdao just to cross the line with 2 reefs in her main, and the last boat actually to cross the line as well is carrying 2 reefs, not much mainsail at all. And this is Seattle.
Almost the last boat. I can see another one over there, Steve.
Oh yes.
But Visit Seattle is the yacht that has Nikki Henderson at the helm, skippering. I say whether she's at the helm right now, I don't know, but yeah, 25. She only turned 25 2 days ago, which is incredible, and so what a birthday present.
Yes.
There they are. Excellent. So yeah, at 25 she's got a great sailing history already behind her, and she's been across the Atlantic a number of times, and she's got a wonderful sailing future ahead of her, and I think records will be broken by this woman. Without a doubt. Great sailing, great team, and to be able to command the crews that go along with this race, potentially up to 23 other people on board, so maximum crew 24 with the skipper, to go around the world shows exceptional mentality and ability by Nikki Henderson.
Yes.
Wonderful job.
Great result for her, and 3 wins no less as well within the race, so a very good performance all round. And likewise, really, here comes the last boat, Nasdaq, and sadly Nasdaq is at the bottom of the list. So not done so well at NASDAQ.
No, but sailed safely all the way around, which is the most important thing, and very solid sailing. And really, it's a wonderful achievement by all of the boats to complete the round the world yacht race. Yeah, good job. They will all be so delighted that they have now completed, and all that is left really is to pack up the boats, get inside the dock for a hugely warm welcome by the still growing crowds down here, and all of their friends and family will be so pleased because it's difficult to put into words how proud the friends and family will be of those crew members that have sailed, be it a leg or all the way around the world. Each leg has its own challenges, so incredible stuff.
It's very important, isn't it, to point out that seamanship is the primary thing, isn't it? In other words, sailing round safely, using your seamanship, your skills as a sailor to complete the race course. Not necessarily the fastest, but the actual competition is the most important part, isn't it? In other words, actually completing the race.
Yeah, very much so. It's yeah, why do you go to sea? It's to get to the other side, and really, it's all about maintaining the yacht, maintaining the crew, and getting there safely. And anything can happen at sea with regards to position, so the racing is just a side part. It's wonderful to come in first. It's wonderful to be up there in the standings. But really, the most wonderful thing is getting back into port, knowing that you have been through an awful lot of a great number of challenges and wonderful stuff.
Well, there they are then. They're all over the finish line nice and safely. The 11 yachts in the Clipper Round the World Yacht Race have crossed the line.
Great views there, looking out over the Mersey again, just to pull back. Yes.
Well, they're all now sorting themselves out. The jibs have come down and really just getting themselves sorted out. Oarskins perhaps off a little bit, ready for the parade of sail, which happens in an hour or so's time, 2 hours.
Exactly, 11:15 the parade of sail starts. So got a little bit of time, and it does take a lot of work. So again, as we mentioned earlier, the team effort to get those sails onto deck. They're heavy sails, and these boats are designed. They're mandrolic boats. There are no hydraulics on board. It's all man or woman power, I should say. But it's tough stuff. So you've got to work together, and all hanked on head sails. A lot of modern boats now have furling head sails. Easy sailing, that I tell you, easy sailing. These are proper clipper ships, and really sort of holding that old clipper tradition of working the ships around the world, and this is what it's all about. It's being part of that team in order to get that boat from A to B in the quickest and safest way possible.
That's very important, isn't it? And as you say, they're all around. Of course, the boat's done it before, so they know the course, really.
The boats do know the course, exactly. Just tell them, right, crack on, you know where you're going. Well, to a certain degree. I think every race has got slightly different ports, whereas, of course, last year, after leaving London, went to Rio, whereas this, I say last year, I should say last edition, but this edition, the 11th edition, went to Uruguay for the first time, and I hear that it was an incredible reception there.
Nice view of the boats now with their jibs down and just sorting things, packing it away, getting ready for the last parade of sail. And a little bit of time, I think, now for perhaps 1 or 2 celebrations on board the boats. The last pictures of all the crews together.
Yeah, and it's also interesting to see how much they're done up. So they've got their full foul weather gear on, so it shows you that it was definitely wet out there, and it's although it's been sweltering here inland, especially in the cities, without any sea breeze, out there it's still fresh, and it's one of the wonderful things about sailing, just going and getting that fresh air.
Very much so. Well, it's been 30-odd degrees, isn't it, in most of the cities up until today. They won't believe us, of course, actually stepping off the boat. St. Louis is normal summer. Rain. squally sun.
Exactly, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, they'll have had that. I don't believe there's any such thing as a steady wind anymore. I've decided that the world's weather systems are just made up of gusts and lulls. That's a great shot. Yeah, that's what you want. You can see the smiling faces. They will be elated, without a doubt. Of course, and you mentioned earlier, Steve, that the highs and the lows, and of course, yeah, there's always, to a certain degree, a little bit of a disappointment. Well, not necessarily disappointment, but it's that realization that that's it. That's the race done. You've made it, and lots of hugs, lots of high fives. But unfortunately, if they want to go again, you've got to retrain and set up for the next race, because
yes, the next race happens next year, and entries are open for that. 712 crew took part this time round, representing 41 different nationalities, and it's pretty good, really, to a spread of people as well. English tends to be the language on board there?
It does tend to be, yes, international language of the sea, which is lucky for us, because yeah, certainly being English, my skills in foreign languages are not much. But yeah, the 41 different nationalities that partake in, it's on average it stays that way, and attracting people from all over the world, from new countries. So it is growing each race.
Yes, very much so. And oldest competitor was 74, youngest has to be 18. So 74 is a pretty good age to go sailing around the world. And 40% of the crew are actual novices. In other words, they've never really sailed before until joining this. Now they're around the world, so they join an elite band, really, of people that sail. As Sir Robin often says, Sir Robin Knox-Johnson, the founder of the race, and of course the first person to sail a race around the world solo all those years ago in 1969. He does say that you know, more people have climbed Everest than sailed around the world, and that's quite a small elite group of people, really.
It is. That's something that they'll all be very proud of, those circumnavigators. And now we've got in shot, we just had UNICEF there, and just to mention, UNICEF is the official race charity, and the Clipper Ventures organisation has donated that yacht to UNICEF for this race, and as they did last race, and have been fundraising all around the world, and they have relatively recently just beaten our record. Last race we raised £323,000 for the charity, and this edition they're already at £332,190 and 60 pence, I've been told this morning. So a wonderful effort, and of course, if you are feeling generous for UNICEF and all of their wonderful work they do around the world, they're such a well-known name. I don't need to tell you how much good they do around the world, but just jump on the Just Giving page, the web page, Just Giving, type in Clipper Race, and you'll have all of the different yachts and their totals. So you can pick your favourite yacht and chuck a £1 or £2 their way, and it all goes to a good cause. So wonderful stuff with UNICEF.
And they did pretty well as well, being 6th overall, and a good result for them, really.
Yeah, definitely, and their skipper, Bob Beggs, I've sailed with him quite a bit, and he's a good, very experienced sailor. In fact, an ex-commando gunner and turned sailor. This is his 3rd Clipper race. In fact, he won it back in potentially 2002. It may have won it back into when came into Liverpool. And he runs his yacht very, very well, in the sense that it's very much the crew. He will oversee the crew, and the crew make the decisions. So it's a wonderful way to work the yacht, and the crew get an awful lot out of it. So it's great to see.
Great enjoyment ashore as well. Of course, people here braving the cold, perhaps welcoming a bit of rain. I know the gardeners have wanted rain for the past 6-7 weeks, so it's arrived, and we're back to the rather duller English weather. Yeah. Yes, you're on telly. Yes, well done. Wonder which boat they're supporting.
Good stuff. Looks as though they've got breakfast. At least they managed to get breakfast here.
And here's Liverpool 2018, home waters for her. Good to see Liverpool back in the Mersey, having left 11 months ago. And well, it's a long old time. But,
it is the pink boat. They've painted a huge, great pink panther on the forward collision bulkhead and where the sail store is up front. That always gets wet, so a great fun boat.
Okay, well, good to know. Of course, that celebration now beginning on board Sanya. I wonder if it's sunk in completely. They effectively knew they won yesterday, but now let's cross over to go on board Sanya Serenity Coast.
So, can you just give me a bit of a summary of what this final race up the Mersey's been like?
Oh, this was an epic race. We had really, really good wind. It was quite tense because it was a tight channel. We had to duck a few ships, including a huge cruise ship. But it was a lot of fun. Very wet. I was on the ground, so all the waves were crashing all around me. Kind of soaked through and through, but it was an awesome race. Some good winds, good speeds, tight competition. Couldn't ask for anything more for our last race. So that's a lot of fun.
Brilliant. And this has been like a huge part of your life for now, like, you know, including training coming up to a year. What's it like? What's it feel like knowing that it's all coming to an end?
Well, it's a little sad because it's really been an awesome experience. Made great friends with the whole crew and everyone, and all the other boats as well on Clipper. So I'm definitely going to miss it a lot, which is why I signed up for the delivery as well, because I can't get enough of it. But I have to say, this last race was a great way to end it off. It was very competitive on this last little sprint up, and lots of fun, and the boats were just zooming up. It was a nice little gale for us to close it off. Really, really enjoyable.
Brilliant. And so Sanya, obviously overall winners.
Yep.
I mean, what's that like? What's that feel like?
Oh, absolutely exhilarating to know that during all this time, all the hard work has paid off, and we get to win this race. It is one of the best feelings ever. I had so much trouble falling asleep last night just because I was thinking it over. I really couldn't believe it. So it's absolutely exhilarating. We're incredibly happy to be on the podium. The whole team has been cheering and overjoyed. So it's just such a great feeling.
And sorry to be super sentimental, but
Well, that was Victor on board the boat there, enjoying the finish for them, and what a great experience for the younger members of the crew, and bonding with an entire crew as well. You know, the 74-year-old, the 18-year-ld, they're all on a level par, aren't they, Peter?
Yeah, very much so. And as I was saying earlier, everybody's got a part to play, and it comes through very, very quickly. It's all about attitude, and really, you get as much out of it as you put into it, and so do the team. If you've got the right mentality, you can achieve anything.
There it is, the winner then, Sanya Serenity Coast, Wendy Tuck. And very, very happy on board, just a little bit of a wave.
Good stuff, and they're just about to flake the mainsail. One of the best jobs on board after racing.
The mainsail, that's
so much fun.
Properly, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, and that's a whole team effort as well. They're the big, heavy sails.
So here we are then. This is the final rundown of the overall race standings after 11 months of racing and 40,000 nautical miles. Sanya Serenity Coast, first 143, well clear of Visit Seattle, who made a late burst for that top spot, but didn't quite make it. Then Qingdao in third place with 135 points. Garmin, that we saw across the line first, in fourth. PSP Logistics in fifth place. UNICEF, the official charity, in sixth place. Dare to Lead, just 2 points behind, in seventh place. Great Britain in eighth place. Liverpool 2018 on 79 points in ninth place. Hotelplanner.com in 10th, and running up the last is NASDAQ. Just a very brief word before we sign off here at the moment. There were 12 boats that left, but only 11 finished, and there was a sad ending to Greenings that was doing really well in the race, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and Greenings was doing very well. She had a great win into Cape Town and a good result in the first leg, but unfortunately ran aground on South Africa, and unfortunately wasn't able to be recovered. All the crew got off very safely, of course, and then managed to get on board some of the yachts around the world. So, yeah, good result for the crew in the end.
Will the Greenings guys be here?
Some of them will be on some of the yachts, yes.
Well, we look forward to that, and well done to all those crews, and a sad end to that boat, but you know, it'll be back, and it's a shame. So the sea does not, the sea does not distinguish between Olympians. This is the words of Robin Knox-Johnston. All novices, there's nowhere to hide. If Mother Nature throws down the gauntlet, you must be ready to face the same challenges as the pro racer. Navigate the doldrums en route to South America. Endure epic Southern Ocean storms, experience South African sunsets, face the mountainous seas of the North Pacific, and bond with an international crew, creating lifelong memories before returning victorious. Seize the moment, unleash the adventure.